Hi, friends. Welcome to this latest episode of the Nationalist View. In today's podcast, we have with us a very special guest from Dhaka, Bangladesh, Professor Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Nazmul Ahsan Kalimullah. Uh,
NCCO,
yeah, and Bangladesh National Cadet Corps.
Cadet Corps officer.
Yeah. So, uh, Professor Dr. Kalimullah, he is also the founder chairman of JANIPOP, and
That's right.
it's a well-known outfit in Bangladesh and in South Asia. And
That's right.
and today we are going to talk about the current state of affairs in Bangladesh and the challenges ahead. So, Professor Kalimullah, I just wanted to ask, what is the current state of affairs? Because we just came to know that a former CEC, Qazi Habibul Awal, has been arrested, and which is the former Chief Election Commissioner of Bangladesh, and another former Chief Election Commissioner, KM Nurul Huda, who
Yeah,
oversaw the 2018 national elections. So
that's
he
right.
was also arrested on June 22nd after a mob had assaulted him. So there is a growing concern about rise of extremism in Bangladesh under the current Yunus regime, and also what you call the downsliding of democracy. So, sir,
That's
how do you look at these two incidents? Are they indicative or symbolic of this downsliding of democracy and rise of extremism in Bangladesh? So, please, sir, share your perspective with our viewers.
Well, for last 15 years, the election commissions, and the elections they have conducted raised a lot of concerns. As election observers, we viewed these elections as flawed, FLAW, flawed, and but the government power, they continue to cooperate and collaborate with the constitutional body formed by them as election commissioners. Uh, Immediate past Chief Election Commissioner, Qazi Habibul Awal, was also former Defense Secretary and Law Secretary of the government. He's a checkered career, and he was at loggerheads with the judiciary when he was Law Secretary, and he could prevail. He's a gentleman par excellence, and he shared his frustration with me while he was performing his duty, because, as the Chief Election Commissioner, you are just a figurehead. He tried his best. At one point, he postponed the election of by-election one in Gaibanda area. That created huge dissension amongst the ruling party activists, and eventually he had to forgo that attempt of him. So, in this system, it's difficult to pursue your own strategy and also your own stand. Government is all pervasive. So he tried, and he found that it's difficult to chip in this system. Lately, the former Chief Election Commissioner, Nurul Huda, he's a valiant freedom fighter and also a former civil servant. He was manhandled like anything. Mob, picked him up from his residence. He was in his informal attire. They didn't give him time to put on formal dress. He was dragged out, and he was beaten by shoes in his two cheeks, and also they garlanded him with shoe stand, sort of kind of humiliating sort of posture. And, they hurled eggs on him, the traditional sort of style, how you malign someone. And that created a lot of concern. Whatever type of election he conducted, that became not so important sort of issue. The way he was manhandled surpassed everything. And, the respected Chief of Army Staff, General Waqar-e-Zaman, and his colleagues, they took up the stand that mob justice and mobocracy won't be tolerated. So eventually, army sort of rounded up and picked the perpetrators, and but it's too little, too late, as per the comments of the critics. So that created a chilling sort of environment all over the country, that anyone can be lynched anytime, anywhere. Rule of law has ceased to exist, and it's a vendetta which matters. And it seems another Chief Election Commissioner, Mr. Rakib, would be also rounded up, and all the 12 election commissioners, in each team, 4 of them were there. So all of them would be arrested, it seems. The secretaries who sort of manned the office in the Secretariat of Election Commission, they will be rounded up, it seems. So it's really, giving a message to those who would be running the show in future, what might happen. So if the regime changes, it will be other around. So the cycle of vengeance, violence, and vendetta is not a good sign for the polity of Bangladesh. So we are really concerned. This is not the end of the world. The way people are allowed to behave, they're there's a racket, who are here to characterize sane people. Those who don't see eye to eye with you, they are viewed as suspect, they are viewed as dangerous people. But plural space means democracy. In a democratic fabric, everyone has the right to sort of adhere to his or her principle. You cannot force someone to behave in a particular way, but that has become the norm of the day here in present day Bangladesh, headed by the government of who is world famous Nobel laureate Professor Dr. Yunus, which is really unfortunate. We had a lot of expectations from him, and he came from Paris. We expected that the French sophistication would be there, it would prevail, but it's the other way around. It's worse than, tyrannical rule of dictators.
So there is a lot of talk amongst commentators and those who track and watch Bangladesh very closely, that what had started as a student movement, which ultimately replaced Sheikh Hasina's regime. So it has been taken over by the extreme elements, the jihadi groups and extremists. They have taken over and they have hijacked the whole system. And even BNP is feeling to some extent marginalized. They have already banned Awami League. And so how do you see this? If you can break it down for our viewers, what is the general outlook of common man on the street or common woman on the street in Bangladesh? how deeply they are concerned about, this rise of extremism. Because we saw violence was unleashed against Hindus, Buddhists. There have been repeated cycles of violence against minorities, especially Hindus. So, how do you see this rise of extremism, or was it the student movement was a facade, and actually what had happened that it was being driven, the backseat driving was done by the extremist elements. And also, I would just add another this thing, but the growing influence of Pakistan in Bangladesh. So the cause and effect relationship, how do you see between the extremist elements in Bangladesh and the growing influence of Pakistan during Yunus regime?
Well, historically, the people of this part of the world, they spearhead the movement for the creation of Pakistan. Muslim League, the party which led the struggle for establishing Pakistan, was founded back in 1906 in Dhaka, the present day capital of Bangladesh. And, the population became, dissatisfied with the span of 23 years or so. And they started believing that they were betrayed. And, they were forced to take up arms against Pakistan junta because of this Operation Searchlight, which they conducted on 25th of March 1971. So the party Awami League, which had landslide victory in the eastern wing of Pakistan, they sort of formed the government in exile on 17th of April 1971, and the then foreign minister in exile, who later on became president, late Khundukar Mushtaq Ahmed. He sort of wrote letters to all the head of states and head of governments all over the world to provide recognition to the new government and new state. And India sided with the cause. The then Prime Minister of India, late Indira Gandhi, sort of in the first week of December, when Pakistan carried out an air raid on 3rd of December, as far as I remember. So India declared war on 6th of December and continued till 16th of December, and Bangladesh was liberated. All the occupation personnels, they surrendered us, and they were taken to India as prisoner of war. And eventually we had this Shimla agreement between Pakistan government and Indian government, and eventually Pakistan gave recognition to Bangladesh back in 1974. That time, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, sort of the founder father of the nation, he sort of made this historic visit to Lahore and to attend this OIC, Organization Islamic Conference convention, and Bhutto reciprocated. He visited Dhaka, and in the process, on 15th of August 1975, it is a coup d'etat. Bangabandhu and his family was mercilessly killed. Only two daughters could escape because they were abroad, Sheikh Hasina and Sheikh Rehana. And later on, we found that gradually people came again disgruntled and disaffected. Dissatisfaction level was high, and through election, Awami League formed the government back on 12th June 1996 through 7th Parliament election. And Then again on 29th of December 2008, ninth parliament election was held, and in that election, Awami League did well and formed the government. And for 3 successive terms, Sheikh Hasina was in power, which she had to relinquish power on 5th of August 2024. And she took refuge in India, and a lot of Awami League leadership, they fled the country. And, in such a vacuum, extremist elements, they sort of could tighten their grip. At the fag end of Awami group, hurriedly the government put a ban on Jamaat Islami and the student wing, Islamic Chhatra Shibir. And Awami League government also put a ban on Hizb ut-Tahrir. This movement originated from Jerusalem and exported to UK, United Kingdom, and from there it inroad to INGOs in Bangladesh. So they also demanded that their ban should be lifted. But the government decided to relinquish this ban on Jamaat and its student front, whereas continued to sort of keep the ban on. Hizb ut-Tahrir and its media coordinator was arrested by CTTC. And we don't know about the whereabout, but Hizb ut is quite active, and it has network all over the country. Government is a little bit wary, because if they remove the ban, the Western world would be angry, and the campaign which is going on, that the present government is sympathetic to the extremists, that will be established firmly. So tactically, they are sort of keeping a ban on, but they are sort of spreading the network, and government could do very little about that. And this mob violence has become the norm of the day, all over the country. Anytime, anywhere, anyone can be targeted, which is really unprecedented. In Middle Ages, we heard about the term Mogir Mullu. That means this bandits from present-day Rakhine province of Myanmar, or Araka. They were raiding coastal belt of Bengal, and they were merciless. So people would think that, there's no justice. So anything perpetrated. So it has as if made a triumphant comeback in the 21st century, which cannot be found anywhere. Any parallel.
So going ahead, how do you see the situation panning out? Is there can free and fair elections be held in Bangladesh? Is there a situation like that? Because the way all chief elections are being put behind bars, people who are pro-democracy, people who are secular, so they are being targeted. And as you rightly mentioned, that the mobocracy seems to be replacing democracy there. So how do you see, sir, this situation panning out? And there's a lot of chatter about the Yunus. There's a lot of pressure on Yunus to step down, and because he is an advisor, and it was supposed to be basically an interim arrangement, but
That's right.
this interim arrangement seems to be getting moving towards a permanent arrangement. So though elections have been broadly announced next year, April, but do you see the way things are panning out? As you said, these incidents, the recent incident where former chief election commissioner was assaulted, so it had a chilling effect. So, how do you see this, and what needs to be ensured? Of course, the one good thing about Bangladesh, even if it is going through one of the worst phases, that it's professional army and it's basically professional military, and they are not intervening directly into this thing, the politics, but they're also ensuring that beyond a point, things don't go beyond a point. But how far this can go, basically? Every time military cannot intervene in civilian affairs, or is it like giving an invitation to the military to, take over till the elections are conducted? So how do you see this situation, sir?
Well, our current chief of staff, he is a firm believer of democracy, and he's a professional soldier. He thinks army should be in the barrack, and in aid to civil power, they can be invited. What they're doing nowadays, they're given magistracy power to help the government to keep law and order alongside the police. But however, he's dead against mobocracy and mob justice. He's taken up a stand which has been liked by the people. At the moment, he's the most popular gentleman in the country because of his stand. But again, I think the country is not ready to sort of what we call level playing field. It's not there. So if you try to sort of arrange an election where police is, in a way, in a lost boat, the morale has been seriously affected. A lot of police personnel were burned to death, and it will take time to regenerate the police force.
Sir, how do you see the role of the US deep state? Because it's a very interesting situation has developed. The general perception is, based on some credible information, of course, that Sheikh Hasina was replaced by Yunus, and because the US deep state intervened, and US deep state basically installed him. After Yunus got installed here, so he moves, much closer towards China, which is an arch rival of US. And
That's
US has a deep strategic interest in Bangladesh because of the geostrategic position in which Bangladesh is situated. So,
right.
how do you see this? And China, of course, is pretty active also. And they are quoting basically Yunus has visited China officially.
Right.
And as far as we know, it did not go on a Bangladesh Air Force plane or a Bangladesh plane. It was a Chinese plane which was sent to him, which is unprecedented actually. So, how do you see this interplay between US, China, and especially the role of the US deep state? Because now they are creating a corridor, trying to create a corridor in Bangladesh to supply arms to the Arakan army, which is fighting against military junta in Myanmar, uh, that is backed by China. So wherever US deep state has gone in the past, they have turned it into a battleground, and the country has gone to literally, but the countries have been ravaged. So, how do you see this role of US deep state in Bangladesh affairs at present and in times to come?
Well, a lot of people believe that it was kind of a color revolution funded by US trillionaire George Soros, and was helped by the US deep state. And, within span of a month plus 5 days, it culminated into fall of Hasina regime and the assumption of power by Professor Yunus. But within from 5th till 8th, there is no government in Bangladesh. So Yunus regime gave a kind of indemnity to the perpetrators for that period. And this rampage continued till now. So, Professor Yunus's government won't be able to sort of deny the responsibility of all these atrocities and misdeeds. It is really unfortunate and unprecedented. Bangladesh, I mean, instruments like ACC, Anti-Corruption Commission, is being used to intimidate people. Even they try to sort of intimidate academics like us, those who were holding the position of pro-vice chancellor or vice chancellor, treasurer in different public universities. A lot of former vice chancellors are being sued because they were appointed by the previous regime, things like that. So corruption is a very sort of lofty thing. You can put an inscription and stigmatize, and in the eyes of the society, you can isolate them. So this is really heinous. We didn't expect such thing, which is unfortunate.
So my last question, because India and Bangladesh have had a very close relationship. Of course, there have been ups and downs in the past with different regimes, but largely, but currently we see, the relationships have hit rock bottom. So,
That's right.
how do you see the India-Bangladesh relationships panning out over the next few months? And what are the expectations? If I talk about, we are pretty clear about, what the regime wants from India or doesn't want from India. But if we look at the society in general, people like you, academics, intellectuals, public intellectuals, so also the common people, because India did play a significant role in formation of Bangladesh, and India
Of
is
course. I
Bangladesh.
mean, a lot of people believe that India acted as the surrogate mother for the
Yes.
creation of Bangladesh. So it's a historic
But
bond.
it was, I would say, the valor and bravery of, the bravehearts of, East Pakistan at that time, and basically, the Bangladesh, who led from the front, and India, of course, supported it. And because we always looked at, this part of the world like as our, we have civilizational, commonalities, and also we are like basically brothers and sisters. So it's like
Right.
one big family. We have looked at Bangladesh more as a family. But so now, over the next few months or during the Yunus regime, and if the regime changes, so how do you see this India-Bangladesh relationship panning out? And what do you think India should be doing? If India is not doing any particular thing, or what are your expectations from India? What would be your suggestions for India also?
Uh, the policy which was being stated by the honorable respected Chief of Staff Army of India, that they expect elected government should be there, and as soon as the elected government is being installed, then they can start to cooperate and collaborate with the democratic regime. Until unless there is a unrepresentative government in Bangladesh, normal relation is difficult to maintain. See, because it's people-to-people contact which matters most, and India is one of the largest democracies in the world, and from 15th August 1947 till to date, they practice democracy uninterruptedly, not like Pakistan, for that matter, Bangladesh. So in a way, this is a model, sort of. There are a lot of shortcomings, maybe. Each and every democracy finds similar things. But till to date, in this region, India is the model. So, people of Bangladesh expect that we'll eventually be able to form democratically elected government, and government-to-government relation would prosper and be normalized.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out from your busy schedule and demystifying, what is happening on the ground in Bangladesh and sharing your perspective. And we'll soon be back with another episode and another issue. And of course, we are going to keep on inviting you, sir, for sharing your perspective with our viewers. And thank you so much. And we look forward to having you again on our show. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Look forward to interacting with you in future as well.